In 2024, Joe Biden will look to secure his second term as president. Now, since taking office, there's been some serious questions about his mental capacity and his leadership, and it's an issue that has weighed heavily on the party. And as the level of anxiousness grows, recent polls also show that Democrat voters have concerns about him running again, and that was recently heightened over his handling of his order to shoot down a spy balloon that was caught flying over areas known to house ICBMs, claiming that the balloons weren't spying on US defence installations. Well, joining us for the first time in 2023 is our US correspondent, Katie Dixon. Welcome, Katie.
Thanks, Michael. Good to be here.
Now, we see the reporting here in Australia. Is it any different there in America about Joe Biden's handling, especially with this issue over the spy balloons?
You know, it's interesting. We were talking about that on Monday morning here at the studio and reading reports as well online that they actually censored a lot of the coverage on the balloon on platforms like Facebook and Twitter and things like that, which was quite interesting. And people started questioning why, obviously, when it first came out that there was this balloon, everyone just automatically was like, shoot it down. You know, this is, a Chinese balloon. And people question, how did it even get into our airspace, let alone Montana before being detected? Maybe, higher ups detected it or whatnot. But, for civilians to actually see it and start reporting on it, that's why it became such big news. Biden, of course, is saying that he did order for it to be shut down, I believe, on Wednesday, but that the higher officials said that it's best to wait till it's over water so that it won't cause any injuries or anything like that. And that's why it didn't happen till Saturday. Whether that's the case or not, we don't know. But obviously, there's a lot of criticism of Biden for not acting sooner and that it makes the US look weak.
China, of course, have come out with the usual rhetoric about it was an escalation and it was an accident. Is any of that washed in America?
No, I think a lot of people just don't believe it at this point. And a lot of people question if this was the case and this is just to track weather or whatever it may be. If you're tracking it and it got off course, why wasn't officials in America made aware of this then before it happened? They're criticizing us for shooting it down. I'm sure it cost a lot of money, that big balloon, but they're criticizing us for it. So it's kind of like a two-way street. Well, if it really was just a balloon to track the weather, why didn't you give us a heads up or make us aware of it? So obviously they're not going to say if it was a spy balloon. US officials are saying it's not a weather balloon. Now exactly what it was tracking, what it was spying on, if you will, we'll never know. And people in the White House administration have actually come out and said that 3 of these balloons entered our airspace during the Trump administration, which then makes you wonder, makes a lot of people say, well, here we go, bringing Trump into it again. Trump is one of 2 that have only announced their run for presidency, and no Democrats have announced a run yet. They're saying that Biden in coming weeks, they're expecting him to officially announce now that the State of Union is over. But it seems for those Trump supporters, especially Republicans, are always like, you're turning it back on Trump. It's always turning back on Trump. Trump's top secretary officials and defense officials are denying it, of course. So once again, it's kind of like, well, we don't know what's going on. But there were Democrats that even came out publicly and criticized Biden for not taking action sooner, and that it does make America look weak.
I noticed Anthony Blinken cancelled a programmed trip to China to have a diplomatic meeting with them.
Yep. Yeah, they say that was the stalling. That's why Biden was stalling on, taking out this balloon, whether that's true or not. They're kind of sticking to the story of, top officials said to wait till it was over water. For a lot of us in America, there's not a whole lot in Montana. So a lot of people are kind of like, well, it's kind of over a lot of open land and things like that. But they're going with that story, and there is going to be a briefing on Tuesday, I believe. So we might find out some more then.
Yeah. And you think as far as the retrieval effort goes, which is a large retrieval effort now in the water, would have been a lot simpler over Montana. It might have taken out a steer or, a couple of groundhogs, but it would have been
Right.
a lot simpler to retrieve it, wouldn't it?
You would think that, obviously, when you take this thing out, we don't know where it's going to fall, or it'll necessarily. We might have not known the dimensions and things like that. It looks like a mess in the water from the photos that have been released, but I think a lot of people are just like, why were you putting our national security, keeping us safe, on hold three more days, 4 more days, just to get over water? What could have they collected in those 4 days if it really wasn't about a weather balloon? Why are we stalling? And that's what a lot of people have come out and said. Trump was very loud about his opinion on it, and it should have been taken out straight away, is what a lot of people believe. So
Yeah, I doubt that the balloon was storing the information. It would have been transmitting it straight back.
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
It hastens the need for it to be neutralized, I suppose we could say. And there's one coming up through Latin America as well, apparently.
Yeah, it's like all these balloons are now popping up. So we're going to be hearing more about it. And like I said, they are saying that there are more that have been throughout the Trump administration. He's denying it. They're saying it happened. I've spoken to people that have worked high level security for the nation before, and they won't spill any beans. But, it has been said to me before that they are stopping different things entering our airspace every single day, and we just don't hear about it. So people are questioning, why this even got to where it got in America.
Yeah, and even if it did happen with Trump, it doesn't justify it happening with Biden. It's, both
Right.
two things can be wrong at once. One doesn't alleviate the other.
Right. And that's what people are saying. Here we are diverting the focus and trying to put it back on Trump. The people that believe there's this, hate after Trump, which there is to some degree, but it seems like a lot of things are being, refocused on Trump and whatnot. So if there was some during the Trump administration, were there balloons during the Obama administration? We probably won't hear about that. So it has been quite an interesting week, and we had the State of Union the other night as well, which Biden announced that, national security was the most important thing. He alluded to the balloon, didn't specifically mention it, but the briefing's on Tuesday. So we'll see what comes out of that. And, hopefully the US won't look weak.
Now, watching the State of the Union, Katie, I noticed Kevin McCarthy trying to shush some of the Republicans during it occasionally. Have the Republicans got a problem, a unity problem? Are they going to eat themselves here if they don't unite?
That's a good question. And we see, unification of the parties an issue even on a smaller level, even locally, county races and things like that. Republicans seem to want to fight about a lot of things instead of coming together. Democrats, whether you agree or disagree, they know how to come together. That's no one denies that. So, I think it's been very interesting that the numbers are changing, though. Only 37% of Democrats want to see Biden run again, and that's dropped from 52% from just last November. So it's interesting to see how things are shifting, how things are changing. Just because they don't want to see Biden run, it then opens up the field. Who are we going to see run? And we've talked about it a lot before. The Californian governor, we think that he's going to announce it. Like I said, no one has announced from the Democratic side that they're going to run for presidency. They're expecting Nikki Haley. She was the former US ambassador for Trump during his administration. They're expecting her to make an announcement next week that she's going to run. And interestingly enough, I found on thehill.com, I found a poll that they did that actually said Vice President Harris would be the top runner, and close behind would be Hillary Clinton, which might shock a lot of people, whether it's the two females in power, whether it's that aspect. And Newsom was fourth on the list in that poll. So it's quite interesting how things have shifted just from when we spoke last year about a lot of this.
with Kamala Harris, was she overhyped in the beginning and hasn't lived up to that hype? Because she seems to have become the invisible vice president with this. There was a lot of fanfare, and rightfully, the first female vice president and the first female vice president of colour, and there were some great barriers broken. But since then, she hasn't gone on to actually do a lot, or not that we've heard in Australia.
No, and that's the question we ask a lot in America is, where is she? She's taking control or wanted to take control of the border crisis. We haven't seen anything there. We rarely, see or hear from her. She has done several interviews since the State of Union and obviously supporting Biden and whatnot. But kind of more a figure during the election phase and not much since then. So we are also asking the same question over here. But like I said, that poll even shocked me that it was Harris and Clinton that were the two top runners. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out on the Democratic side. Nancy Pelosi, former speaker, she actually did an interview yesterday morning after the State of Union with CNN, and she said that she believes if Biden does announce to run again for president, that no Democrat will challenge him. That might be hard to believe for us that, I've watched Gavin Newsom and people like that step up and kind of show signs of wanting to run for presidency. But Pelosi believes that no one will run against him or challenge him if he does announce. So I think the next couple of weeks are going to be crucial, and we're going to see some things happen and start to shift and change.
We also saw Nikki Haley, it was a fair while ago now, say that she would never run against Trump. And we've seen Trump saying that she's given him that reassurance as well, privately, saying she wouldn't run against her president. Do we put much faith in that claim now?
I think at the end of the day, they all just take care of themselves, don't they? I think it might be strategic. What we're hearing about her announcing that she's going to run is just speculation at this point. Several news outlets have reported that they're expecting her to make that announcement. In Texas, we don't hear a lot about her. Kind of a no name as such, or not one that's very prominent in the forefront of the media. But again, it might be strategy. Trump might be running. She might be right there beside him as the female vice president again. So a lot can change between now and official election day and whatnot. And we'll see about Nikki Haley and what she decides to do.
It's always so fascinating for a bit of a politics wonk like me to watch the American field play out. So we'll leave it there, Katie. So Katie Dixon, all the way from Paris, Texas, thanks so much for your time, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Michael.